Alrighty, welcome to episode 233 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. In fact, it's been a pretty bonkers news week. 13 days after releasing it to a very limited number of users, Tesla has now widely released full self-driving supervised to all Hardware 4 owners who have purchased its FSD package. Tesla simultaneously announced there will subsequently be a $149 per month FSD subscription available to be purchased in the not too distant future. At this stage, it's not known when Hardware 3 owners who have purchased FSD will be able to finally use it. Tesla has resoundingly silenced critics with an FSD supervised tour de force comprising a world-first 13,577 kilometre circumnavigation of an entire continent in a mere 11 days. This classic Australian lap exposed the advanced driving system to situations and scenarios rarely or never encountered in almost any other countries, and cement its position as the world leader in self-driving technology. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. And as is customary, if there is anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please unmute and say hello. Or perhaps a little bit later on. Okay, so the only news that any of us... Oh, maybe we've got someone. Andre?
Hey, how's it
No?
going?
Good. Tell us about your awesome car, or if you've got a Tesla.
Yeah, I'm on to my second one. Sold my beloved um, Performance Model 3 a couple of months ago. We have to settle down and think about the future of the family. So yeah, I ended up getting the launch edition Model Y. And yeah, I've been having a blast. Been putting FSD through its paces as well. So yeah, curious to pick your brain on what your thoughts are on some of the things that it's doing or not doing at this point.
Yes, and once again, welcome. And that's the whole point of tonight's episode is it's basically to, it's a warts and all. Now there are lots of people driving around in it. It's best that you all understand, and also people watching on YouTube all understand its limitations primarily, and some of the great things it does, some of the not so great things it does, and some of the pro tips that we've picked up
Yeah.
along the last few weeks. Now, one thing I need to just mention: anyone who is getting a new Model Y delivered, well, if you've already had it delivered in the last or today, then you already would have been given the bad news. But if you are waiting to get yours delivered over the next few days until the end of this month, so basically, I think that's effectively this Saturday, probably. One tiny bit of bad news is due to a certain module having different firmware in the cars coming off the ship, they have been software update prohibited for the time being until this different component has been programmed correctly, or they've revised some part of the programming of these cars in this batch, which means that you cannot get a software update. And of course, FSD Down Under wasn't part of the manufactured firmware. So people like my wife and a few others who have got FSD coming on their cars won't be able to use it until there is a software update, and that won't happen until this certain component gets updated,
Right.
or its software updated, or perhaps they have to actually load a patch for the software update for these cars to cope with this new module. So that's a little bit of bad news if you are getting your car over the next few days and you've either purchased FSD or intend to, or you have transferred it from a previous vehicle. So just so I get that out the way. Now, as far as FSD goes, I think it's probably appropriate to go sort of down and on a bit of a list. So let's firstly get into the known bad behavior. And well, actually, before I do that, it's been pressed in all the documentation, all the promotion for it, and people's talking about it. It is full self-driving brackets supervised. So the first thing that we should all understand is that yes, it can do many amazing things, but you as the supervisor, in fact, you're actually deemed to be the driver. So anything the car does, you are doing, and you're responsible for it. Also, it needs to be supervised. So you'll notice that the cabin camera, in fact, many of us who are naughty and might have accidentally put objects over the cabin camera, you would find that FSD refuses to even start if it can't see the driver. So Tesla have deliberately dialed up the attention monitoring to 11. So so you must understand that it is FSD supervised. Now, and that means you always have to watch what the car is doing, and the car sort of makes sure you do that. One of the behaviors that it can do at the moment, and remember that the software that's in our cars now, for those that have it, is the worst it will ever be. It's only ever going to get better and better. Now, one of the classic things it does do, can do, and has done is drive through red lights, especially ones where you've got like a runoff lane going, say, to the left, or you've got a turning lane to the right. And sometimes in certain circumstances, it'll just go through either a red arrow, or if it's just a single red light that is effectively controlling everything going forwards and left or right, it does and can go through the red light. So you've the onus is on you to be aware of that. And obviously all you need to do is just press your foot on the brake and everything's good. It disengages. So that's one thing.
Harold, just quickly, what makes that really hard is 99 times out of 100, it will go through that intersection perfectly. So it's easy to become complacent. And then the one time when you don't expect it, that's when it may go through the red light.
Which is why you need to be paying attention and just do it, kids, because otherwise it might bite you. And you don't want to be the first person on the front page of the West Australian having your car featured as the first one in a bingle. So let's just pay attention.
Yep.
The other thing it will do, depending, is crossing over to the wrong side of the road. And it won't matter whether it's a solid line, double white lines, or a painted median. It can do that. Tesla, and bearing in mind, Tesla is aware of this, and they are currently training a new model. Something that's useful to understand that maybe not everyone would realize is that full self-drive, there's a really good reason why they call it full self-driving supervised down under. It is literally a specific end-to-end build of an Australian version of full self-driving. This is not an adapted American build. This is custom done and learnt using Cortex, I think it is, in Austin. It's our own model using Australian video content and a lot of simulation of scenarios. So Tesla are aware of this behavior of red lights and going on the wrong side of the road. Now, also, part of this wrong side of the road thing is if you are, say you're doing 110 k's an hour and you come across a car or a vehicle doing 80 k's an hour, and if you touch nothing, the car may actually decide, your car may decide to spontaneously overtake that car, which is quite magical when you see it do it. The only issue is it can do that on double white lines. So again, but it'll be polite. It'll put the indicator on, so you'll basically know what it's doing, and all you need to do is just lightly grab the steering wheel and correct it and bring it back to behind the vehicle that's in front of you. So it's not like it's going to do it without you being able to stop it. Or you could just tap the brake. It's like autopilot. You just abort either with the steering wheel or the brake. I mean, you can use the scroll wheel, but you don't have to. So that's the let's call that the naughty known bad behavior. Then there are also a couple of other idiosyncrasies One which is it doesn't keep up with the speed limit, particularly on country roads or outer roads, and sometimes suburban roads or Perth roads as well. It's a known issue. Tesla's working on it. Generally, in the lower speed limit zones, it does a pretty good job, but in the higher ones, the hundreds and the 110s, and particularly in country roads, it sags down. So in the 110 zone, it'll sag down to a little bit below 100 k's an hour, sometimes a little bit slower. Now, a pro tip, you'll notice on your right scroll wheel, you can scroll up and down, and you'll see that is in small blue writing, it says max. So imagine we're doing 110 and you want to set the max speed to 113. So you can do that. Going up higher doesn't make the car go faster by itself. It just sets an upper limit. So one pro tip that you can do is if you're approaching, you'll notice that when you approach a slower speed limit, the car actually reacts earlier than autopilot does. So the car will actually start slowing down well before the actual speed limit symbol changes on your screen, but it won't usually get to that speed limit on the legal requirement, which is when you pass the speed limit sign, you have to be doing that speed. So what you can do is to force the issue is use the scroll wheel and just scroll it down. And if you do it rapidly, you'll get 5 km/h increments. And you'll notice that if the max speed is less than the speed you're doing and you take the foot off the accelerator, it will very quickly go down to that speed. But it's not a suggested speed for it to speed up to. It's just a maximum speed. And one thing I learnt recently was effectively everything has been programmed end to end, but that maximum speed, and that's including speed limit recognition and all that sort of stuff, but the maximum speed limit setting, the maximum speed setting is like a pre-coded hard limit, which you can adjust. And something else that you could say lets down FSD or makes it work harder than it has to is a poor interaction between navigational lane choice and what FSD does. So it's quite common that, say you've got an upcoming right-hand turn and you're in a multi-lane road, sometimes it will pick the leftmost lane, and then that's kind of like a navigational thing. And then what will happen is, 50 meters from when it's got to make the right-hand turn, the car will then do its best at a 45-degree angle or whatever it's presented with to cross 3 lanes of traffic to make that right-hand turn. And it sees everything instantaneously. And if it just works out, it can make that turn, that's great. But it can, in so doing, often when you have a right-hand turn, you'll have a solid white line for about 15 meters up to the end of the start of the intersection. And the car will have no qualms in crossing that solid white line to make its turn that it had to do late because it had a poor navigational choice. So they're really the known not ideal behaviors. Like I said, the first ones that I mentioned are the critical ones. They're the ones you really need to watch out for. The other ones are really more comfort that happens. Now,
Harold, just on the speed situation you were talking about, what I have found, and I don't know if you've seen it on your trip, is it seems to be a bit more speedier when it's matching the cars ahead or behind it even.
yes.
I found on the highway, it seems like, someone might be coming up on me and I'm only doing 90. It will speed up to that max speed if it's matching the traffic
I
around.
don't know why I just couldn't quite press the button in time and I missed it.
It does on the freeway. Sorry, let me just mute that. It does on the freeway, but in country roads, I've done similar tests where I've actually deliberately gone a little bit faster than the speed limit to sort of catch up to a car in the hope that, in a sense, it would stick to that car. It would kind of use it like it would be towed along by that car,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work. So it's freeway actually seems to be quite good. It's more the outer roads. I don't know whether it's a definitional thing, where once it's declared as outside of a city region or some or a built-up area, it sort of behaves slightly differently. Again, this is something that Tesla's well aware of and is working hard to address. So, in a sense, this episode, all this information is really pertinent to the version we all have now. And by the way, the version you all have now is exactly the same version as the early adopters got.
I was
It's the
good,
same.
Pepper Gang. We back, baby, and you not gonna stop us.
Let's just fix that up. Sorry. Okay, so that person's out. Sorry, just sort of let that go through to Zoom. All right. So now I just got to get back to putting this in the front. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought then because that was quite distracting. Okay, so the speed thing, that's a known thing. So that's something that's definitely known and everything pertains to this version of software. The next one we get, which might be in a few weeks, no one really knows. A lot of these issues could be addressed. Now, on to positive things. Some known good behaviour.
Just quickly, before you move on, can I just add two more to that list quickly?
Yes, Pete.
So one is, I've noticed it's not great with reading digital speed limit signs. So just be extra careful with those, especially around school zones. So yeah, I had a 40-kilometre speed limit sign read as 60 kilometres today, and other times it just ignores it altogether. So yeah, be careful of that. And there's also one other situation, just be mindful when you're changing the destination, especially mid-journey. So let's say you're in a intersection, you're in the lane going straight, and if you change the destination where it now requires the vehicle to turn right, it may at times try and turn right from the lane going straight. So try not to change destinations mid-journey unless you're on a straight road that can't go left or right. So just, yeah, a couple of little ones there.
So some known good behaviour is, and it's really awesome when you see this, it actually very politely gives way to traffic entering, say like on an on-ramp onto a freeway or something similar. So you'll notice, whereas you are sort of entitled just to hold your position and whoever's entering sort of is obliged to speed up or slow down or whatever, you'll actually notice that your car will politely, if there's space, change lanes to, say, the right-hand lane and to let that vehicle in. So it's a very polite sort of system that it's using, and very, very good behaviours. And another one of those is if you come up to a traffic light intersection and the lights are green, but the traffic is quite congested, and you've got sort of cars built up to the other side of the intersection, even though your light is green, your car will wait behind the white line at the start of the intersection and leave that intersection clear. And you'll find it's quite magical, so that if there's a light change, not a problem. It'll just wait for the red light.
You can't stop, Tesla gang. We back. Can you guys please stop?
Hey, Pete, do you want to tell your mates to stop joining the call?
So we can see that's going to be... Oh, actually, I know what to do. Sorry, I can fix this now. Let's just enable the waiting room so then they can't come back. Alrighty. So that's got... So when the light then subsequently goes green, even if it's still built up, it'll just wait patiently. And then once that flow of traffic, as soon as it instantaneously sees it move, your car will then move through the intersection and join the back of the queue and keep driving really well. So that's a really good bit of behaviour that's been programmed into it that you won't always see, but don't be surprised when you see that. And yeah, it's just a demonstration of how good that that system is. Now, the other thing too is the more congested traffic gets, the better and more relaxed, the better it is at handling it, and the more relaxed you are. Because unlike humans, it doesn't get flustered if it's completely surrounded by trucks or it's got motorbikes, lane splitting and all that sort of stuff. It's the great thing is the car can see everything in all directions and process that all at once. So for example, if you're in really, really bad sort of freeway traffic, and as a human, we've only got two eyes on a rotating head. And imagine if you're trying to change lanes to find another gap that's more favorable, you've got to sort of like work out what the car in front of you is doing, if it's braking or accelerating, if the car that is in front of the gap is braking or accelerating, if the car behind the gap is braking or accelerating, and if there's a motorbike lane splitting. Now, for us, that can be quite difficult to do, and you've got to juggle and keep looking backwards and forwards and all that sort of stuff, and it gets quite fatiguing. The car does not break a sweat, does not care, sees everything at once, processes everything at once, and then it does the move. Something I know some people may criticize, but I find really good is the way that the car knows all its extremities very well, and it can actually go around vehicles quite tightly, which is very useful when you're on more narrow roads. So you've got cars lined up, sort of parked on the left-hand side, and it's really only a two-lane road. You still can have two cars crossing each other because the Tesla will stick fairly close to the parked cars. Now, I know some people will criticize that and say, yes, but what if someone opens their car door? I mean, the thing is, the practicality is you're obliged not to. And in fact, our cars actually have warnings for things like push bikes or whatever when you go to open your door. So what I'm saying is it's a great behavior in that the car really knows its extremities. And I've seen it driving in Sydney Sydney just has super skinny lanes and lots of big vehicles, and everyone's kind of jammed in like sardines, and the car just silkily, smoothly just picks its way through, and it's very accurate. And one thing I'm almost guaranteed of is that it will never do a curber. It'll never touch a curb while it's driving around corners or whatever. It's very good at doing that. One little other bit of known behavior is if you've got super tight, super small roundabouts, it's sometimes a little bit jerky as you go through that roundabout. And if you've got those ultra tiny ones, which are really just like a painted circle on an intersection, sometimes it'll miss those and treat it just as an ordinary intersection. So just be aware of that. Okay, so things to remember. The attention monitoring is dialed up to 11. So, and you can all do this. If you look away from the windscreen for more than about 2 seconds, particularly if you look down to your passenger seat, within 2 seconds you get a beep. A good pro tip is, and the beep can either be lack of paying attention, or occasionally it will ask you to gently tug on the steering wheel. The safest approach is if you get a beep, look forwards and just grip your steering wheel just lightly, because what you don't want to do is when you get the beep, if you weren't paying attention, is to then look at the screen to read what the warning was, because in so doing you might actually get sin binned, or sorry, a strike, which is if you get 5 strikes, you get a week holiday from using FSD. Although I've heard in the States that might have been reduced to 3.5 days, but I don't know if that applies in Australia. So pro tip, if you hear that kind of rude beep, just put your eyes directly forwards and just lightly grip on the steering wheel. Once the beep goes away, well, it's gone away. So, but but sometimes the beep is because it wanted you to grip onto the steering wheel momentarily. You'll probably get the message that says visual monitoring or attention monitoring currently unavailable. And then within about a second or so, you'll get a request to lightly grip onto the steering wheel. Now, if we go to pro tips. So obviously you can, well, not obviously, nothing's obvious. You can use FSD without using navigation. So you can literally just be on a straight piece of road. You can be stopped. Actually, sorry, if you haven't got a destination, the way you engage FSD is just go into drive and then press the right-hand scroll wheel button. So that will then engage FSD, and it will generally just keep going forwards. But I'm sure if you've experimented with it, you'll find that it will then sometimes spontaneously go left or right at a subsequent intersection with no real pattern. So obviously it works best if you do have a navigation destination, but you can absolutely use it without it. And if you're on a highway or something like that, it generally just keeps going straight. But you can also use the indicator to make it go left or right. And in fact, that's something you can do on an unmarked area. So imagine you're on a large gravel surface that's unmarked. Let's call it like an impromptu temporary car park or something. You literally can steer your car just using the indicators. So if you put the left indicator on and hold it down, the car will just keep going left. And if you let go, it'll go straight. If you then put the right indicator on, you can then make it go to the right. And I had this in Balladonia where the navigation system was sending the car in the wrong direction across the roadhouse. So I just tried it. I went, I'll just put the right-hand indicator and see if it will make it turn back to where the actual exit was. And sure enough, it did. Something else I did, I was coming out of a shop, coming up to King Edward Road, which was really busy in one direction, which is where the navigation wanted me to go. I just decided, rather than disconnecting, I just put on the left indicator, and sure enough, the car then went left, and then the navigation changed and it went the alternate route. So that's something you can do. You can effectively steer the car with your indicators. Okay, so getting back to the cabin camera monitoring, attention monitoring camera, if you need to interact with your touchscreen for anything complex, such as putting in a navigational route or something like that, what you can do to give yourself a break from the intense cabin monitoring or attention monitoring is wear sunglasses. I don't think that prescription ordinary clear glasses will work, but I'm not certain. But if you wear sunglasses, you still have to keep your head facing forwards, but you can avert your eyes to the touchscreen and at least do things. Like I said, something useful like, and it might be something as simple as adjusting the air conditioner or checking something or your tire pressures or whatever. You'll find that if you don't wear sunglasses and you look just a little bit too long, you'll get a nag, and quite a firm nag. But with sunnies, that doesn't really happen. But if you turn your head downwards, especially to the left and downwards with sunnies, you'll get the nag. So there's a pro tip: wear sunnies if you need to do anything complex. Again, we sort of alluded to it earlier. You can use the accelerator pedal to speed the car up. So if it's not going fast enough, just put your accelerator on. Now, pro tip, if you're in a place where there are environmental threats like animals or whatever, a trick that I adopted was to modulate the accelerator. So just give it a blip, gets the speed up, and then take your foot off. So it guarantees that FSD will stop if there's a threat. Because similar to autopilot, if you hold your foot down on the accelerator, you'll get a notification that says FSD, which I think it still calls it autopilot, but FSD will not brake. So just blip it and let it go, and then blip every now and then. bearing in mind Tesla are aware, and hopefully this will be fixed on the next revision. And I think the last one I've got is, oh, yes. So if you're on a multi-lane highway or whatever, and you're coming up to slightly slower traffic, you can actually use your accelerator. And if you sort of push the car a little bit towards the car in front, it will almost always start to overtake that vehicle. Of course, the flip side is don't do that when you're on double white lines, because the car will then not spontaneously, but it will respond and overtake the vehicle over double white lines. But like I said before, just correct it with your steering wheel. But you can overtake cars with your accelerator, and you can overtake them with your indicators. So a really good tip, you know how I was saying before about the navigation doesn't always pick the perfect lane to sort of think ahead. Well, by all means, please help it. So if you know that in 500 meters it's got to take a left turn or a right turn or whatever, help it by getting it set up in the correct lane. Because otherwise you'll find if you do a regular route, it'll do the same regular mistake. And it's not actually teaching it anything. In fact, actually probably indicating isn't teaching it anything either, but at least you'll be less frustrated with it, and it won't have to pull off so many elaborate maneuvers to correct its navigational mistakes. And that's the end of my list. And I've certainly spoken for far too long. Oh, I've got a couple of hands. I don't know who had their hands up first, so whoever did, please go. Oh, let's go, Andre. Oh, sorry, Huffy. So go, Andre, and then we'll go Huffy straight away.
Yeah, no, cheers for the list. A couple of things I've noticed as well, just to kind of elaborate on your list there as well. What I've found is, at least for me, and maybe this is just because of my normal driving style, roundabouts seem to be very slow, going around them.
Yep.
To the point where I will give it a little bit of a tap, just to get it to go. But it seems to be a bit of a balancing act, fighting the autopilot will not brake warning versus keeping the car moving. Same for if you're taking off at an intersection and turning. I tend to just give it a bit of a push. So is that to comment on your indicator steering, if you want to change the route that it's trying to take. I do agree it works most of the time for me. Other times it just seems to blatantly ignore me.
So one tip is don't just blip the indicator, which often works. You've got to hold it and assert it if you really want it to change direction. So
Gotcha.
If you just want it to change a lane just because you want it in a different lane, usually a single blip will work. But if you really want it to guarantee it's changing direction, just push. If it's a Model Y, if it's a refreshed Model Y, push down on the stalk, or if it's a Highland Model 3, just press on the indicator button and keep it pressed until it's actually basically started changing
Gotcha.
the lane. If it's changing lane, or if it's changing direction into another road, then just keep it pressed down. It's the safest thing to do.
Yep.
But by all means, experiment a little bit to see what works best in each situation.
Yeah. And then I guess the other thing would be the driver monitoring. I have found that most of the time when I am wearing my sunnies, especially when I'm driving into the sun, so I'm guessing possibly the sun reflecting off my sunnies, it tends to revert to the apply pressure to the steering wheel back up. So I've kind of seen that happen a couple of times. It seems to revert to that quite often when I've got my sunnies on. And then another thing, probably just a topic of discussion because no one would really know, but to me at least, it seems like the car might be locally learning. It's strange. I've noticed some behaviors improving as I'm, going through certain intersections or certain obstacles. on my day to day, I have seen the car make mistakes on the first go, and then every subsequent go, it seems to be getting better. Which is weird. I would have assumed that we'd only see those improvements happen in following updates, but I don't know. It feels to me like it's happening locally. So I just wanted to check what everyone else is thinking.
I really don't think so. I think it could be more a case of subtly different lighting conditions. My car has done something really well in one piece of road and then done something ordinary on the same piece, which is the opposite to what you've experienced. I The thing is, the car has no memory of where it's been or no knowledge of where it's going. So everything it does to react to the road, it's basically seeing that road for the first time. So it doesn't keep like a cache of previous travels. Everything is done on first principles for what it sees there and then.
Yeah.
So in fact, Lars Moravi, I think it was, actually said that, wherever the car goes, it's done it for the first time. Even though, in California, Teslas go over the same piece of road continually, each Tesla themselves have only, as far as they're concerned, they've only seen it that time, and they forget all the other times. So I don't think it's getting better. It's just that there is a bit of variability, and it can really make a difference on lighting conditions, speed, other cars, other things. Yeah, I think that's what it really is, to be honest. But there will be a big change between the version we have now and the next version, because there's a lot of things that Tesla are aware of that they're going to change.
Right.
One thing that the car doesn't do, I should have mentioned this earlier, is it will generally avoid things like roadkill and certain objects on the road.
I've seen
But
that.
please don't do what bearded Tesla did in America and just dare it to
Go
smash
over
the
it.
crap out of his car, because you can. And that's actually, on a serious note, I think what happened, apart from him being an absolute idiot and having YouTube fever, which is, I don't care what happens, it's going to be great for my channel, is people can sometimes, you get in that zone where, I don't know, you get fixated with, I wonder if the car will react, and by the time you realize it's not going to react, it's just too late. So please react earlier on, but by all means, do experiment and give your car enough rope to prove itself, but only just enough. Keep it on a short leash. So I can confirm that it can detect kangaroos, particularly hopping ones, and that's really gratifying when it does it. But equally, some of the more faster moving ones with no notice, you've just got to react yourself, because you just don't want to take that risk. So do give your car enough rope, but keep it on a short to medium leash.
Sorry, just last one. Are we expecting something similar to the US, where we have those different speed modes?
Don't know. It may never come. This is Australian software, specifically built for Australian conditions, and I literally don't know whether that's something that Tesla will decide to implement here or not. The thing being, in America, the American police and the American society is very comfortable with the thought of exceeding the speed limit. Their opinion is, we're just a school of fish, and as long as you're not the front fish, then you're okay. And it's said that in America, if you do the speed limit, you'll get run off the road and all that sort of stuff. And everyone does well over the speed limit, and they all do it together. And they consider that to be perfectly acceptable, socially acceptable and legally acceptable. In Australia, that's completely not the case. In Australia, we have an opinion, society and law enforcement have an opinion, that the speed limit is what it is. It's a limit. It's not a target. And if you go above it, you're breaking the law and you're going to get fined or cautioned or whatever. So I just don't know within Australia we're ever going to get the hurry. Well, it used to be Mad Max and various modes. We may not get any modes whatsoever.
For me, it's more the decision-making side of things. Picking the more efficient lane to be in, and making those earlier decisions. Like, I've been caught out in the wrong lane a couple of times where my driving style would have put me in the right-hand lane and then moved
Yeah.
over. So it's not necessarily the max speed or exceeding the speed for me. It's more making smart and quick decisions
The car
efficiently.
can, I've seen the car do it, but look, to be perfectly brutally honest, when you play the game of lane hopping, you can do it with a degree of local knowledge and experience, but it's really instructive if you can get a friend of yours or a rally or whatever, and you literally have an experiment and you've got to do it at the same time in the same place. One decides to stay in the lane and the other one does all the lane zipping and whatever. And the number of times you'll see that you're ahead and then they're ahead, you're ahead, they're ahead. And in the end, you probably end up at the same place at the same time.
No,
That
I don't like people lane hopping, but if I'm sitting on a highway, the right-hand lane is open and I'm sitting doing 80 k's an hour when it's 100 k speed
then
limit.
then use your
That's
indicator. Yeah, then
Yes, no,
okay.
I get that, but
Yeah,
I'm wondering if we get to a point where I don't need to use my indicator. It it should
possibly
see
yes.
that is what I'm
Yes.
getting at. Yeah,
Its behavior will become more and more advanced
yeah.
so that they can start programming in more advanced features like that. I mean, it does do it. I've seen my car in a slow lane change lanes, but and I've actually seen it change lanes both directions. It's actually changed lanes and gone to a left lane, which is usually a slower lane, but it was vacant. So it did do that and did quite well, and it went back into the middle. So it does do it, but might not do it as intensely as you desire. But these are more advanced features will come later. Obviously, the main thing for Tesla is to get the safety levels up, to get it as good as a human, then slightly better, then vastly better. And that's all part of that sort of programming thing. Um,
Thank you.
Now, I think we had Huffy's. Hopefully, Huffy's is still there.
Sorry.
Huffy's, are you? Oh, yeah, sorry, there you are.
Yeah,
Yep,
sorry.
gotcha.
So I just wanted to thank you for the update. You've answered most of the questions. The only thing that you guys have mentioned it when you're in a roundabout, and if there's someone standing to cross in the middle triangle,
Yep.
it does politely stop. But presuming cars behind us might get annoyed, is it legal, sort of thing? I mean,
You
it's
can you
very.
can push, yeah, yeah, okay,
I
so you
know.
can push the accelerator to push it
Yes.
through. Um, I don't I I'm not familiar with the road rules. Whether I don't think you're obliged to give way to a pedestrian on
No, you're
a
not. You're not. I think
no.
you're not. But
So
would you be annoying the people behind you by stopping for
depends
like
who
you
the
stop
person
for a
is.
dog and an older person like on the weekend and they appreciated it, but there was no one behind me. But is that
As long as the
legal?
person behind you isn't in a Ford Ranger, you'll be fine.
I know.
Yes, it's the attitude of the person behind. If you go to some country towns, you go to Albany, for example, people give way to you all the time, like
Mm.
everywhere in town. Like, and in fact, Albany is built on roundabouts because they militantly don't have traffic lights.
Yeah.
And no mayor wants to be the first one to install a traffic light in Albany. So in the country, people are very, very polite to pedestrians. In the city, not so much. But Huffy's, of course, if it's doing something not quite ideal, or you know it's going to probably give way, I know that the car actually studies the intent and trajectory of objects. So it
This is
understands what
true.
a person standing still is, but it also understands what someone swinging their arms. And it actually, if you look at the visualization, it even knows a difference if someone's swinging just one arm. So someone might have, I saw a guy with a man bag and he was kind of clutching it with his left arm, and his right arm was doing the normal walking sort of motion. And in the visualization, it showed left arm still, right arm moving. But it definitely has cues of all the trajectories of all the objects. I think they call them VRUs, vulnerable road users, and it does that to try and predict what's going to happen. But you're right; it does sometimes, let's call it politely, give way to people that don't necessarily
You need to be
there's
given
not
way.
be needed
Yeah.
to be give way to. Yes, exactly. But just push through the accelerator; it'll be
Yeah. Yeah.
fine. The other thing you
And
do too is if the car is hesitant for something, one
nudge.
foible it has, if you've got two lanes of traffic going in one direction and you're turning left into that, it will often, but not always, wait until even the middle lane or the outer lane, so the inner lane is also free before it makes the turn, even though it could make the turn quite safely with cars in that inner lane. Now you can always just push it, help it along with the accelerator, and it will keep going. So that's another little tip you can use.
Yeah. And just on that sunglass thing, I believe you can probably ask the optometrist to make UV blocking, but it's the IR blocking and the
Yes.
metallic coating that actually the camera reflects off. So
Y-
the optometrists are happy to do glasses that actually just do UV blocking and color, which is fine. It's the IR blocking that
It's
actually, yeah.
IR is perfect. Because the thing that most people don't realize is infrared goes through almost all sunglasses, and there are whole YouTube threads about facial image recognition, and the way to defeat it is to get infrared blocking sunnies, because it can't see your eyes, and that's one of the primary things for facial recognition. There are actually, if you use like a GoPro, or I'm not sure if an iPhone will do it, but GoPros certainly seem to show it.
You
At
can see
night
that.
time, you can see the two
Yeah.
infrared
Yeah.
LEDs either side of the camera, basically shining through the plastic cowling, and they're quite prominent. And that is for eye tracking.
Thank you.
Oh, and also probably for facial, just for your whole head as well, because your cabin is quite dark at night time. Alex, you got your hand up.
Yes, I do. I actually I did have a safety cutout for me today. Coming up to an intersection, and I noticed there was a car coming from my right to left, and the car did not spot it for some reason. So
And it just pulled out, did it?
it pulled out. Luckily, so the car was in the left lane, and the right lane was clear, so I just gave it a big bootful and got out of it. But
What color was the car, Alex?
it was a red car. Red car. It was. I think it might be something to do with the sunlight on the camera. Might have played a factor, I think. But I reported it anyway to Tesla anyway.
Yes. So do one thing you should also we should all do is keep our cameras clean, especially the side repeater ones, on the indicators facing slightly backwards. Do keep them clean. They can easily get quite dirty because you get sort of turbulence, and if it's raining and dust and whatever, do keep them clean. You can literally just do it with your finger because it's only a small camera, and you can just like give it a little wipe and get the dust off. The pillar ones are usually fairly clean, and the back one can do it for a bit of a clean too. That can sometimes get quite dirty. The front ones are usually okay.
So when I had a question here too. So when you push the right scroll wheel to record, where does that recording go? Does it go back to Tesla for them to investigate, or what happens?
So if you do a disconnection, particularly when you're on a navigational route and you disengage either with the brake or the steering wheel, it will come up with a message that says, we noticed that you disengaged. Can you tell us about that experience or what happened? So then you just have to press the voice command button. So is that the scroll wheel on the Model 3? Or
No, there's a voice button. It's the voice
Oh, there's a
button.
voice. Oh, sorry. So it is the voice button. Yeah. So you press the voice button on 3s or Ys, and then you just do it. You just talk to it, and I think you got up to 30 seconds to actually do the voice command, and then you just press it again to finish it. And I believe that Tesla have a bit of an automated system of filtering events, because a lot of times people are changing their mind because they don't want to go the route that the car is planning. So it's not actually a safety thing, it's just a navigational thing. So they try to automatically classify disconnections as either basic navigational errors, which are not that important, all the way up to critical events that are important, and they need to assemble to help train the model with things not to do. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. Has anyone else got any questions or comments?
My comment is, having just driven a 100K round trip for work today, after choosing not to take the government Subaru and doing it on my own dime. Um, uh, it's fantastic at overtaking. I amplify what you're saying about that. If you come up behind a slower vehicle where there is a good opportunity to overtake, if you just accelerate gently towards the back of that car, it will decide pretty fast and well to do the overtake. So I did 4 overtakes today. 2 of those were in overtaking lanes, and so of course those were great. And 2 of them were really quite advantageous because I was approaching on a right-hand bend, so the car had really good visibility past the truck, and so it took no time to decide. As soon as I touched the accelerator, it started indicating and went. So yeah, that's really good. My one naughty list thing is it indicates on roundabouts like Australians, which really annoys me, which is to say half the time when it goes straight through a roundabout, it will fail to indicate.
Yes.
Call me a pedant, but I'd kind of rather it did the right thing.
Too right.
However, when it's doing 90s or 270s, it always seems to do it right.
Yep, that's true too. Yep, and again, that was a known thing.
Sorry. So Ken, there is a situation. There was a guy on X, I think it was yesterday or the day before. He had a situation where he was going through a roundabout that was only a 3-pronged roundabout, so he didn't have a left turn, and he was going straight through. But directly after that roundabout, so within 20, 30 metres, there was a left turn. And so what he did is he indicated, so he said FSD supervised indicated left to leave the roundabout.
Yep.
Correctly as it should. But there was a car waiting at that left turn who interpreted that left indicator as him turning left at the next road and came out. And yeah, he had to press the brake not to T-bone him. So we were having a debate on X as to what's the right way. So one gentleman made a very good point, which is that it was the person's fault who was standing at that T intersection, because driving 101 is you shouldn't start to move until the car starts to make the turn. So you don't trust the indicator. And FSD supervisor is actually really good with this. It doesn't trust the indicator. It waits for the car to start turning before it before it classifies that car is actually turning. So that was one thing. The other thing was it's obviously a very poorly designed road. That left turn should be part of the roundabout, or that roundabout should be a little bit further up. You do.
Pete, the thing is, the car absolutely adhered to the road rules. You are compelled to indicate as you leave the roundabout. And the fact is, every driving instructor will tell every student that you cannot pay attention, that all an indicator means is that the globe is not broken. And you can't presume that if you see an indicator coming up to an intersection that the car is going to make that turn. You just can't.
Absolutely.
And like you said, Pete, you've got to actually really see the whites of their eyes to know that they're turning away. And it's inappropriate to even suggest that the Tesla should maybe learn to look ahead and go, well, if it's a short journey to the next intersection, maybe I'll just not do my left indicator as I'm obliged to do. Those are just silly cases where anyone can have a so-called debate on X, but there's no debate. The car was obliged to make the left-hand indicator. The person who nearly got T-boned was obliged to give way to the through traffic, and with or without indicator. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of those situations.
Absolutely. And I mean, the good point also is, so actually in my exam, when I was taking my driving exam, I went straight through a roundabout and indicated after passing the left turn to indicate left to indicate that I was leaving the roundabout. And the examiner said to me, "Why are you indicating?" And I said, "Because I was leaving a roundabout." He said, "But you went straight." He said, "You don't indicate when you go straight." And I said, "Well, I thought the rule was that you got to indicate when you leave a roundabout." He goes, "That's nonsense."
That guy needs to get sacked.
So the point is that, and what the guy said on X is that half the people in Australia don't indicate to leave a roundabout. So hence why that person waiting at that T intersection would have been, it would have been half right. Like, yes,
I
absolutely.
don't think so. No, he was never right. Just because people
Yeah.
drive badly doesn't mean you can get away with that as an excuse.
No,
Anyway, but yeah, no, it's been great. And to briefly hark back on something Andrew was saying about it learning, I think you start to assume it's learning even when it's not. Through Geraldton, there's a classic exit from a roundabout into Cathedral Avenue where you could choose either lane. And I've been very interested to see which lane it will pick each time. And I was beginning to think it was learning to pick the right lane because it was going to turn the right way. But actually, I'm with Harold. I suspect it's probably time of day, shadows, perhaps how much I push the accelerator to make it accelerate out the roundabout. It's completely random which lane it chooses. But it's interesting how much I was starting to go, oh, well, look, it's doing it the same way this time. Every time it must be learning. But actually, I think that's me rather
It's
than
alive.
Yeah.
It's easy to personify. One thing that's really freaky is we all describe its freakily human-like behavior, but it's just as human-like in driving as a large language model is in using language. Our brains sort of attached to it. And there are some things you'll see your car do where you go, oh my God, that's just so awesome. Like I said, when you see it for the first time, give way to someone entering the road and going, that's just so polite. It's not that it's a human thinking about this. This is just a machine emulating a human or emulating that behavior, but it's still awesome.
Speaking of, sorry,
I
speaking
was
of
just going to
human
say
driving,
it's always more polite than me, but that says more about.
And it doesn't get angry. And the great thing is, it will. If someone cuts it off intently, the car doesn't get
care.
pissed off.
Yeah, it's great.
And it'll just keep coping, and it'll just relax.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andre. We'll just go to Colin because he's got his hand up, and then we can go back.
Hey, Harold, I just wanted to prompt, is anyone in the waiting room that needs to be let in? I've just tried to join with my computer rather than my phone.
Oh, sorry, Colin. We
room.
had
I saw, yeah.
Sincere apologies. We had an idiot that came in twice.
Yeah.
And the only way to stop that permanently was to open up the waiting room. Sincere apologies.
I just thought I'd see if anyone else was in here.
In fact, I'm concerned about Tesla Moon because that name, I think, was the person I was interjecting before. So, no, it wasn't. No, that wasn't that one. It was someone else. Sorry, that's Russell. I was so hovering to mute you, Russell, but anyway,
it's Russell's fault. It's Russell's fault for having a stupid name.
No, I agree with him.
Okay, so Colin, you're back, you're in, so that's good. I've still got the what's the name on the whatever you
They
call
call
it?
themselves Tesla Gang.
Waiting room. Tesla Gang. So it was Tesla Gang, not Tesla Moon. No, Russell's just alluding to what Tesla share price is going to go to, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So sorry, Andre, so you had your hand up still, and then we'll go to Russell.
Yeah, you were talking about human behavior earlier. Now, I used to be very impressed with enhanced autopilot and even autopilot, and the way it would maintain center of lane on the highway. What I've been finding with FSD is it feels like a human's driving because it's not staying in the center. I can feel it drifting left and right. Yep. And that's the only thing where I think it was a bit of a downgrade. Like I really liked it just staying in the middle. And I'm glad it's not just me.
The car does respond to like large trucks. It'll generally, whether it's going in parallel or coming in the opposite direction, it'll kind of swing out a little bit. One thing I observed on tarmac that was worn and white, it had white stones or very light coloured stones rather than the grey or black tarmac, and it had worn out white side lines and centre line, is that the car was actually running along the line, and this line happened to be one of those noise ones where all you could hear is this and it was doing it for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers, and it was being really annoying. Um, so there's a couple of little bits of foibles where it can sort of do that, but yeah, it does not stick dead center all the time. That's certainly correct. Yeah, it is another one of its things.
Andre, I actually did a comparison between 3 combinations of software and hardware as to the line that they take through a turn. And so a hardware 3 car, if the turn is sufficiently sharp enough and the speed limit sufficiently high enough, a hardware 3 car running autopilot or auto steer will start to drift towards the center lane markings, towards the middle of the road. A hardware 4 or an AI 4 car, even with autopilot, exactly as you said, will stick spot on, right, dead center in the middle of its lane. And FSD supervised on AI4 will cut the corner like a human. So it will get closer to the inside. Inside, it will take an inside line like a racing car driver. So yeah, I've actually did a video of the. I'll try and put it up in chat so you can have a look. But yeah, they're 3 very distinct lines as to yeah, depending on what car you have, what car you're using and what software you're using. I personally prefer the inside line. I just feel like that's probably in most cases the safest, not in all cases, but in most safe. Yeah, because that's how humans drive. So, and what you can get is, so in one of those examples, there's a truck going the other way, and when I've got the hardware 3 car with auto steer, the 2 get fairly close together, probably a couple of feet away from each other, because the truck is a human driver. He's cutting, he or she are cutting the turn, and then you've got hardware 3 drifting out, so the 2 get closer and closer together. So yeah.
Cheers.
Cool. Hashtag Tesla Moon, Russell.
Come on, Tesla. Anyway, so it wasn't me. When I had just maybe like a while ago, back when I had regular enhanced autopilot, I was a set of traffic lights and a car came up behind me and they were going to hit me, and the car lurched forward a bit and it got out of the way and the car managed to stop in time. Just this weekend, I was driving and I was at a stoplight on an off-ramp on the freeway, and a car stopped behind me, and then they must have reached down for the phone, left their foot off the brake and slammed in the back of my car, and the car didn't go forward, didn't get out of the way. So I'm not sure if the scenario was slightly different, but yeah, so that didn't work as well as what it did before, potentially.
Yeah, right. Sorry to hear that. I've never seen autopilot.
They hit and then they reversed back because I knew they did it. I was at the intersection, so I went around the corner and just like stopped on the side of the road, and they just went straight past and drove off. I'm like, fucking hell, right? Seriously? So, yeah.
So you'll be sending their number plate and that's to the cops, and that's a hit and run, basically. Failure to stop after an accident.
Yeah, I put a police report in. I'm not sure how long it takes for them to get in contact with you, but I'm assuming probably 3 to 5 business years, probably. I reckon I might get back to me.
Yes, well, shout out to WA Police. I'm sure they'll get onto it. No doubt you've got your footage. So pro tip, if anything like that happens to anyone, here's a pro tip for your settings. Do under, I think it's the safety settings for dash cam and sentry mode, do put record clip on honk of horn, because often you'll honk the horn because something either bad is about to happen or it has just happened, and that can be a great way of kind of semi-automatically recording a clip. If you forget to record the clip within a few minutes, just pull your memory stick out in less than an hour if you're driving, or actually just less than an hour in any case, if you have an accident of some sort.
You got to be careful as well, because if you press the save, it pretty much stops recording when you press the save. So if more stuff happens after that,
yes,
you capture it. So you can press it straight away, but then if more stuff happens, make sure you press it again. Otherwise,
yes,
that extra footage ends up on the B-roll, I guess you could call it.
yes, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. And
So the car has a 1 hour loop. So there is, I forget how long the files are. They run for a minute or 2 or 3 or something. And when you do a save clip, there's usually about 4 files. There's lots of files, sorry, but there are 4 clips of each camera going back in time up to, I can't remember, 5 minutes or something like that. So, but the car does keep the last running hour. So let's call it every 3 minutes, it chews out the oldest files and replaces them with new ones. But the total amount it keeps is an hour. And then when you hit save, all it does is it just grabs the current file. I think it usually cuts it short, or maybe it doesn't cut it short, maybe it just waits till it runs out, and then it saves that and the previous several minutes in the saved folder.
that bit you save is also removed from the hour loop. So if you
Yes.
go back and play the hour loop, that section is missing from that footage. You got to like insert it back in.
Oh, so it's copy. Oh, right. So it actually cuts it out and moves it. So basically moves the files. Yeah, right.
Right back
Yeah.
try and get the hour one, and I'm going, where's that bit there? And I realized that's when I pressed record. I took out that period of time as it was coming up. Yeah. And there's what would be good though is if there was a way to actually save the entire hour onto the USB and say didn't override, rather than having to pull it out and not let it override. Because for the remainder of that trip, you don't have a USB anymore if you do want to keep the hour.
Yeah, true. Yes, indeed.
Unless you've got a USB you want to put in there for those situations. But if you could do save hour, that'd be pretty handy. Because I found what I do for the hour one, because I can't bother taking it out, I just get my phone and I record the screen with my phone.
Yeah.
That I need off the hour one instead, because I know I'm going to lose it in,
And that's the other thing you can do is if you're desperate, or just to make sure, just do a quick and rough video recording of the screen. And it's not the perfect resolution, but it can often be enough if for whatever reason it gets glitched or something happens and, and you lose it. Bear in mind, I've had experience where I lent a car to someone and they cleared all the clips on the memory stick. And it happened that there was a couple of clips I really wanted. I simply took the memory stick, it was an SD card, to one of those data recovery people, and they recovered the footage. So if you do format the stick, it often can be recovered. Obviously, presume on the proviso that the actual files you wanted weren't overwritten as part of that rolling 1 hour process, or that you basically filled it up with new clips in the meantime. But things that you think are erased can often, but not always, be recovered.
Well,
so just bear that in mind if you really needed it and you forgot completely.
Did they go straight up into your OnlyFans? Did they, Harold, those ones you recovered? Is that why they were so important?
No.
Funding around Australia, is that what it was for? Yeah.
It wasn't on the Australian trip, but I actually do have some clips that I do want to put together with a few videos I put up on X. Mostly that cop chase, but that's another story. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Should also note, of course, don't use your phone for taking those videos whilst moving.
Well, yes.
I mean,
Don't
it
use your
shouldn't
phone.
need to be said, but some people will have their phone recording what's on the screen if they're moving.
Yes, that's right.
You can't play the videos on the screen while you're recording.
Oh, yes, that's right too. Yes, indeed. Yes, you don't have to worry about that, Steve, because you can't play it. In fact, as soon as you put the car in drive, the dash cam thing closes. That whole thing closes. So that's cool. But yes, don't use your phone while you're driving. Yeah, or else. All right. So we got some hands up. I don't know who went first, Anthony Watts or Mike. You can
Mike,
fight it out. Go, Anthony.
Oh. Hi. Sorry, I missed the first half hour. I couldn't get here. So might be repeating a question, but with the full self-driving, I've been using it for the week. It's wonderful. Two issues that you've already alluded to, but I find often it's a bit too far to the left in the lane. I feel like I'm going to be driving over tech screws, but there's no way to adjust it to the middle. No,
unfortunately not. But it's probably something that if presuming Tesla finds that behavior undesirable, which they probably do, they no doubt will aim to correct that on the next build of the software. So unfortunately, it's not like there's any kind of, and this is the same thing in autopilot. Not everyone liked the fact that autopilot was dead center. Some people preferred to be a bit more to the left to make way for fat trucks and whatever coming the other way. But there is no fine adjustment to place yourself within the lane. So it's an idiosyncrasy of the system, which presumably will get improved in subsequent updates. Now, as far as the first half hour of the program, or even the first 3/4, just have a look at it on YouTube. So if you just search Tokwa on YouTube, it's all recorded, and I think I was talking for probably far too long, but it was probably for about 40 minutes. So the first 40 minutes goes through everything. So yeah.
And the only other question I had was, and you probably covered it then, tell me straight away, is the following distance. I'd like to be further back. And
yeah, there's no adjustment for following distance, unfortunately, at all. If it's like I've had, I mean, I'm a bit more relaxed about it because I've had lots of windscreens in the past, or I usually just save up a cracked windscreen for a few laps, so then I don't keep changing them. But I mean, one technique, if push comes to shove, is you can use the scroll wheel on the right hand side just to reduce your speed a bit. So you can set the maximum speed, so that will be a hard limit to how fast it can go. So say you're following behind a truck, it's a little bit close for your comfort because it's picking up stones or something. Then you can just slow down a little bit, let that vehicle get a bit further ahead, and then you can just creep up the speed limit to sort of more match it that way. It's a little bit manual. There is no setting for following distance, unfortunately.
I've been doing exactly what you said. Yeah. Today there was a big truck with a whole lot of demolished bricks on the back, and I thought, I don't want one of those falling off.
Yeah. Yep. Indeed. Yep. Cool. Mike.
Hello. Just going back to the recording on the USB, I'm just looking at it now, but you guys can probably answer straight away. Does the manual cover how it works? Like you described some of it there, Harold.
I don't know if it does, but the description is basically you've got a 1 hour buffer it's a circular buffer, first in, first out.
I got all that. How does the different settings? So I have it on auto all the time. So what does that actually mean?
Which one? That'd be Sentry mode, I think, is auto, or is that dashcam? Because there's two functions. There's dashcam is while you're driving, and there's Sentry mode, which is while you're parked.
Right.
Do you recall
so
which
I'm
one said
thinking
auto?
Sentry mode? Am I?
Possibly. And there's
I
actually
have an
a
older
couple.
vehicle, so maybe it's a bit different on the screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Because I'm trying to understand, like, you know, when you see the recordings for Sentry mode, sometimes it'll go up to thing, and then the person is still in the picture, but it gets to the end of its length of on the screen.
Yes. So in a Sentry mode, if you have a Sentry event, which is where the car detects, well, a potential threat or something of interest, because the files, they are fixed length files, and because you don't know when the event occurs, what it will generally do is when the Sentry event occurs, it will when that file runs out, it'll save it and store it. Now the file could run out within a second of the Sentry event occurring, and therefore you don't get the aftermath. You only get what led up to the event being detected. On the other hand, if the event happened when the file was just freshly created, then you've probably got another minute of footage thereafter of the aftermath or whatever. So it's because they're all fixed length files, and the car doesn't produce short files or long ones. It produces always the same length. It's just that the event occurs at random between the start of a file being created and just before the end of it. And what you can sometimes get to is if you just go on dashcam and press, if what you're observing straddles two files, you'll often get like a fraction of a second glitch, because it takes us, unfortunately, for some reason, it takes a non-trivial amount of time to close the file and start a new one. And in that little period of time, you miss out, I don't know, 50 milliseconds or maybe a tenth of a second of footage between the transition, which can be a bit frustrating.
So if you have somebody, you clonk into somebody, or somebody somebody clonks into you, will it automatically save something then?
No.
Does it know
Oh, yes. I think airbag it might.
Right.
I haven't tried that.
It doesn't. So that's why
No.
you're suggesting hit the horn.
Well, there is a setting where you can have activate dashcam upon honking the horn, which is really a no-brainer to set that to yes. Because you'd almost always, because unless you're just tooting the horn to say goodbye to someone, which is traditional but naughty, I think, or I presume, should I say, you've got nothing to lose to have a sentry event if you honk the horn, because usually you're honking the horn because someone did something stupid. So, and that can also help if something happens, and sometimes people get flustered and you literally forget. I mean, when I hit a cow, unsurprisingly, I forgot to hit the sentry button, the dash cam button. So I had to basically, 2Ks down the road go, oh, bugger, I forgot to press the button. I pulled over the side of the road, yanked out my stick, shoved it in my laptop, spooled up the files, and then carried on. So
I think I understood, because of the discussion with Mr. Moon, that when you hit that honk, though, it then stops recording. So it's interesting.
Well, yes, but you can always do a subsequent press. Yes,
and you hit it sometime down the track. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All good. And I don't know. I missed the first 2 or 3 minutes, and I say this with all genuine heart. I don't know whether it happened at the start, but I think a big thank needs to go out to Harold and Pete in particular. I mean, there are others, but you two for doing what you've done over the last few weeks, because this is not an insignificant effort, and it hasn't. Harold driving around like that, that's probably one of the more significant hazards, unless you're jumping out of airplanes without parachutes or something. I used to work in risk engineering back whenever. So it is one of the more hazardous things we do as individuals, unless you engage in high risk activities. So yeah, thanks guys. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I can't talk on behalf of Pete, but I mean, we just love doing this sort of stuff and getting some information out there. I mean, I must admit I was really relieved last Thursday to learn. In fact, it's funny, I only found out sort of at 9 o'clock when I was in Sydney that mayhem had occurred the midnight prior, that, everyone with Hardware 4 and who had bought FSD had gotten it, which was really cool. And I must admit, personally, it never sat that well with me that there were these chosen few, which sort of, it's a really double-edged sword.
It is.
But I tried to redeem it with doing a crazy lap. And I've got to say, risk engineering, that was the scariest lap I've ever done, because the kangaroos were out of control, and the number of times they tried to murder the front of my car. And of course, I had this crushing obligation not to be the first person to do a road trip and smash the front of my car with FSD, because the haters would have loved it. And the point is, there are root collisions, and you can look them up on the internet, where there is nothing you could if you put a brick wall between the kangaroo and your car and you hit the brick wall to stop, it still wouldn't have been quick enough. So cows, no cows, but lots of kangaroos.
And the thing is, there's situations where no machine or person is going to really be
No.
able to, I used to drive down from hinterland into Mackay regularly, and at certain times of the year, the grass is over a metre high, so the kangaroos can sit by the side of the road and totally hide. And going round a bend on dusk at 100, one just was there. And my passenger went like this because we thought it was going to be in the windscreen. And I just instinctively, I didn't think, it was just instinct, turned to the other side of the road and dodge it. And if it had been a car coming the other end, it would have been history for both of us.
Yeah.
That's no vehicle is going to get out of that situation.
No.
I just did it instinctively and had luck.
So one thing, another little, if you sort of show how the sausage is made, one thing I did learn is the car did not do a great job of identifying a herd of cattle. And I gave it more than enough rope. I was doing 130 k's an hour legally in the Northern Territory. It was golden hour. In fact, it wasn't even golden hour. It was like orange hour. Everything was just orange. It was the darkest orange you could ever see. And I was actually on the phone to Pete at the time, and I'm going, "Oh, Pete, I'm just coming up to this herd of cattle," and it's like, "It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop." Oh, and I like just slammed on the brakes. Gave it again. You give it enough rope, but you don't get that kind of obsession like bearded Tesla did and go, is it going to hit this anvil? Is it going to hit this anvil? Oh, bugger, it hit the anvil, So give it enough rope, but keep it on a leash. And
Pete was expecting to hit.
Yes. But anyway. But yeah, like I said, Pete and I just did it. And I mean, now the great thing is everyone can do it now. That's got hardware 4 and has paid the readies. And in maybe the next few weeks or a month or so, anyone that's got hardware 4 can subscribe for $149 a month. Sadly, if you've got hardware 3, in my personal opinion, I think it's a 40-60 chance. It's probably a 40% chance that they can jam the software into the hardware 3s. And I'm thinking, this is only my personal, this is no knowledge, nothing. I'm personally thinking they may bite the bullet and just swap computers and just get over and done with. If you've purchased FSD, if you haven't, they naturally won't. And I presume if it's the same as in America, if you wish to rent FSD on if they change computers, if you rent it, I think the rent might be dearer than if you've got like a hardware 4 car, I think. But let's just hope for those of you and our friends that have got hardware 3 that your time will come. Your time will come. It's just I don't think anyone really knows whether that's a software solution or a hardware solution. But either way, if you've paid for it, it will be free.
Yeah, I did see a comment, and again, X is X, and so you take everything with a pinch of salt. But there was a person who gave the impression that he was on the software development team here some time ago, and his comment was, let's see if I can repeat it. At the time I was in the development, version 12.9 autopilot was essentially no different from FSD at that time. We've not got 12.9 as far as I know.
No, we've got 13 point whatever it is.
So it might go back to, as we postulated,
13.2.9.
An update at some point that autopilot people might get as well.
Yeah, I really do hope that they do that. I don't think there's evidence that that's happened in the States, that in the United States, if you have autopilot, you just have autopilot, which is not a cut down version of FSD, which I think is a missed opportunity personally, because FSD is just so much better.
Yeah.
The thing is, what they can do is they can quantize, which is basically reduce.
Saying the newest release is actually going to have the version 14 is going to have autopilot is actually using the FSD stuff now.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, cool. Look, I don't think autopilot version 14 is going to come to version 3 cars. I just don't. In America, all version 3 cars have got a dot revision of version 12. They're maintaining that they are continuing to call it version 12, even though it's probably got crushed down aspects of version 13. But I think for hardware 3 cars, I don't think any hardware 3 car with hardware 3 is going to get version 14. We do know that the hardware 4 cars will, because in America they are. But they can quantize it, which means you reduce the resolution and you can crush the model down to fit into the smaller computer. There's something else that was called, now the name escapes me, it starts with S, sparsity. So in the way the computer works, there's a whole lot of matrix maths that it has to do, but many parameters that are unimportant can be crushed down to, rather than being small numbers, can be just wiped out to 0. And it makes the calculations so much, sorry?
JPEG.
Yeah, sort of like, a little bit like that. And it's sort of akin to, if you're doing stuff, if the car's moving forwards, you don't really have to pay a lot of attention to the real facing cameras. And there's various tricks where they can go, if the numbers and parameters that we're looking at are approaching 0, let's just wipe them to 0 so we don't have to even do that calculation because it rounds to something unimportant. So that could be a technique by which they can squeeze the program down to these smaller computers. Bearing in mind, Tesla is going to pick the low-hanging fruit first, which is develop the superior model on the super chunky computer. And once they perfect it, then see if they can safely or effectively crush it down into a weaker computer with various compression techniques and all that sort of stuff. Like I said, I personally think it's a 40-60 chance, 40 software, 60 change the hardware. But I'm a nobody, I don't know, and I've got no inside information. And I do feel the pain. I mean, there's some of us that have had Model X's and Model S's that have had hardware 2 and have waited even longer. So, which doesn't make it any better for any of you that it doesn't matter if you bought your car last week and you've got to wait a few months. It's still annoying, but Tesla is working hard at it, and they will absolutely crush it down if they can to save money on the hardware. But equally, they'll have no qualms in honouring their promise to everyone that's bought it and change computers, cameras, whatever's required to make it happen.
Harold, one theory that supports that idea that it's more likely to be hardware rather than software is we know that Elon loves to delete. And we also know, if you remember that interview that he did with the Everyday Astronaut, where he said that one of the problems with really good engineers is they love optimizing a part that doesn't need to exist in the first place. And when you think about it, they've already undertaken to replace the hardware. So they know they have to do the hardware one way or the other. So why bother trying to change the software because the software is like a part, you're trying to optimize a part that you don't need because you've already undertaken to replace the hardware. So why the software?
Look, I do recall at a quarterly earnings report that Elon Musk said it would be very painful to change the computers on all the hardware 3 cars. It would cost probably hundreds of millions of dollars. I think that's probably reasonable. But hey, if it's got to happen, it's got to happen. The commitment was made. Even if you've got dare I say, a classic old Model X or S with hardware 2, or actually they were upgraded. Those computers were upgraded to hardware 3. If it has to be done, it has to be done. But if it can work effectively and not be done, then that's also reasonable. Bearing in mind that anyone's best car is their next car. So a brand new Model 3 or a Model Y will look quite quaint compared to a brand new 2027 model whatever. So just like iPhones and any other phone or any other computer, as great as an iPhone 1 was, it's 10,000 times slower than the current version. And that's just the way that things march on. So we'll just have to see. And like I said, again, I really empathise with people and sympathise with people that are stuck with Model 3. One glimmer of hope is it's probably fairly likely that Tesla will continue with a FSD transfer program sporadically. So if if you've had enough of waiting, and not everyone can afford to do this, I realise this, but if you've had enough of waiting, you'll probably have further opportunities to port your purchased FSD from a hardware 3 car to a hardware 4 car if you were to buy a new one.
There is one more thing that. Sorry, go finish your point.
No, that was it. Yeah, that's it.
So there is one more thing that hardware 3 owners can do is we can vote in. There's a motion for the AGM, which is to convert hardware 3 to AI4 within 12 months. So I don't know what the likelihood of that is in getting up, but
which resolution was that, Pete? What was that towards the end? Was it? No, that wasn't a resolution. That was a joke. That's not in the shareholders. That was a guy just pulling everyone's leg.
It was Jason Cartwright that put it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not even a thing, Pete. So it's not a real thing. Yeah, it's not a resolution. You cannot vote for it. I'm sorry, and it's actually not even funny, to be honest, because that's the thing that 13 Arm used to do with faking various things. It's not funny. It's just
Well, I thought it was funny, and I've got a horse in the race as well. I've got numerous hardware 3 cars with FSD purchase. So
yeah, I mean, look, let's just hope that. I think the sooner that Tesla realizes they have to change the hardware and they get a retrofit kit and just start doing it, and they can sort of somewhat subsidize it slightly by saying we'll only do hardware upgrades for people who've already purchased FSD, and if you haven't purchased it, then there may be if you then want FSD on a hardware 3 car, rather than costing $10,100, it might cost $13,000 or something like that. Or if you rent it, you may be able to rent it for $159 a month, 49, sorry, but you may have to pay a $1,500 upfront hardware changeover cost, perhaps. Or you just trade your car in or sell it or whatever and get a hardware 4 car, or next year get a hardware 5 car, or the year after, whenever that comes out.
So speaking of which, if I may, just without trying to change the subject, the rumours of the improved Model 3 are getting stronger, with a stick and a camera.
Oh, good. Front. Yes.
There's been a lot coming out of...
And brake-by-wire.
Yes. So, 12 months' time, I might keep my old Model 3 actually and get a new one.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the ideal situation is if you're a two Tesla family. Like a lot of people do it. They don't think they'll do it. There's always that famous Tesla stretch where people will go, well, I've never had a car that's been so expensive, and they'll stretch out of something that might have cost them $30,000 to something that's cost them $60,000 because you want the Tesla stretch. But then often people work out that life really is short and you're dead for a very long time, and that, well, maybe I'll keep my now classic Model 3 and get a new one, and have 2 of them, because the only thing better than one Tesla is 2 of them, really. Good point there, Mike.
You don't really need FSD for driving down the shops. I mean, I know it's nice and everything, but or going to Bunnings. I mean, it's all good.
The thing is, it's so good. I mean, and look, this is such a first world problem. I'm going for a holiday to New Zealand for a month, and now I'm like having to accept I'm going to have to use autopilot, and it's like, oh man, do I really have to? And the fact is, I do. and that's okay. It's a first world problem. I will handle it. I mean, slight advantage with having autopilot is you can drive wherever you want, whereas FSD, you're generally more driving to a navigation point, and there's a bit of a faff to get it to sort of keep going in the direction you want without a navigation thingy, because it will spontaneously turn left and right, whereas autopilot never does. But yes, I've got to accept that for a month I'll be slumming it, not on autopilot, and that's not to poke fun at people who haven't got it. It's just that it's the way humans are. All right. Sorry, we got Andre hand up.
Yeah, sorry. This is my first time over here, and it's been great. So I've just got a off-topic question that may have been asked in a previous session.
Yep.
Any idea if we can expect Grok to roll out over here? Or what's
No
stopping
idea.
it?
I don't think anything's stopping it. No, I really don't think anything's
All I can
stopping
think
it.
is maybe a bandwidth issue with regards to connectivity, perhaps. They have to strike a new deal. I'm not sure, but further than that,
No, because it's really just text, and it's look, if they're smart, rather than sending up the audio to Grok itself, you just get the car's computer to process the audio, and it
Yeah.
just becomes text. So bashing text backwards and forwards is pretty trivial, to be honest. So no, I think often things will happen in America first, and then they'll get ported once they stabilize it and perfect it and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, possibly allocate a bit of bandwidth as far as the Grok, because XAI train Grok using their own computers, but the actual inference is apparently mostly farmed out to server farms that actually do the inferring or the inference for the responses that Grok gives.
Okay.
So no, that's just very common. The States, because America centers itself as the center of the universe, everything happens in America first and then slowly filters out to the rest of us. So that's very normal, to be honest.
Cool. Cheers.
Paul.
Let me just change subject. Just one sec. I just want to, my favorite subject, yes, the voting sort of stuff. Has anyone in Australia got the proxy yet? Sort of, in terms of the voting? Because I'm like with ComSec and I haven't seen anything yet. And like last year, it was a bit quicker than it has been. So.
Alexandra Mers said they're a little bit slow, as in not ComSec per se, but some of the international brokers are a little bit slow, but not to panic, because I'm not sure when does the voting end. Well, it really ends pretty close to the 6th of November, doesn't it? You've got tons of time.
I've already voted, and I'm with eToro. And I voted earlier this week,
and I'm with Stake, and I saw it came through.
Yeah, State came through. I've got a couple. Only my concept one hasn't come through though, but 2 other ones have.
Yeah, just wait a bit, Paul. Look, it'll be cool. I'm not with ComSec, unfortunately, and I can't get the vote, which really is annoying. But anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
I've put together a bit of a list of brokers that I don't know how accurate this list is, but some of these brokers allowed voting for Tesla last year. So ComSec is the obvious one, Interactive Brokers, Stake, Perla, Sexo Markets, Westpac and CMC Markets, but with those two, they do it on a case-by-case basis. So you literally have to ring up and request it. And I just realised I left one off the list. Someone mentioned eToro, so I do remember them allowing voting last year, so I'll add that to the list.
So Alexandra Mersk has got the best. If you look through her pinned or highlighted posts, because she's very motivated to get everyone to vote, and she's got a comprehensive list, and it's actually ever evolving. So I think they worked really hard last time to get CBA or ComSec onto it, and quite a few brokers onto it. The sad thing is the date of record is in the past, so there is zero opportunity of moving your shares to another broker to do anything, because
I think it
you
was
had to.
I think the record date was the 15th of September from memory.
Yeah, well, it's in the past. In any case, it's behind us, and there's nothing you can do about it. Anything you do now is only useful for next AGM. And to be perfectly honest, this is the most important AGM because this is the one that the single most important thing to vote for. And let's face it, you'd have to literally be, I shouldn't say an idiot, you'd have to literally be intent on harming your own financial returns on the shares you've purchased, is the 2025 CEO compensation plan. That is the biggest no-brainer. It's only a bigger no-brainer than the one before it was a no-brainer and the one before that. In which case, Elon Musk will basically take this company to approaching a 10-bag value, and all it's going to cost is about 12% of your shares for a 10x. So you're going to get a 9x out of a 10x. And if you don't get the 9x or 10x, Elon Musk gets nothing. Well, if you don't get the first
but even
bag,
even if we get 2x, so even if our shares double, so he goes to just under 2 trillion, it doesn't meet his first benchmark, so he still gets 0. So
yes.
even if he doubles the value of the company, he still gets nothing.
Yeah. So it's a no-brainer. And there's a few other resolutions that are important. Notably, please, if you're voting, sometimes you have an option just to vote with the directors, with the board, with the board recommendations. Don't do that because you'll miss out on the 2 votes for which the board did not have. They had no recommendation. They didn't vote. They didn't suggest either for or against. The second one I forget, but one of them is to purchase XAI, and the other one I don't recall what it was.
It was about supermajority, which we want to vote against.
Yeah,
no, I thought they voted. No, they voted against that. No, there was something else.
No,
No, that's number 6. It's
Oh, is
actually
it?
like it's rolled in.
Oh,
like,
sorry,
I think
yes.
13. It's the
Sorry.
same fellow that brings it up every
You're
bloody
right.
time. So
So
I'm voting no for that.
So Alexandra
Sorry.
Merce actually did a lot of research. She actually was really concerned about getting what she thought to be the correct answer correct, and she said that the reason why it's in the proposal was that in previous annual general meetings, the board had promised that if there was at least a 60% shareholder interest in a certain, let's call it a retail shareholder or an activist shareholder vote, that they would then put that up as a proposition. But by not giving a recommendation, that can be interpreted as they're not actually in support of it. But it would have looked funny if they'd actually proposed something and not supported it. So they went neutral and said we abstain from giving advice. But you're right, Paul, the correct thing to do is say no to that. But the other correct thing to do is say yes to the XAI investment, which has been, and I think that was Alexandra Merce that actually proposed it and wrote it deliberately very vaguely so that the board had absolute discretion whether it would be cash investment or simply swapping shares. So that's like a partial merger, I guess you could call it, to swap shares, so that the board had the most flexibility. If that was approved by shareholders, they had the most flexibility of doing whatever was the best for Tesla or mutually beneficial. So yeah, please don't just vote for the board. Just vote each vote and vote according to how you wish. But yeah, don't just tick the box that says go for what the director said, because then there'll be 2 votes that won't be counted. Pete, you got your... Oh, sorry, Colin, you got a hand up.
Yeah, just quickly, Pete, I just wanted to clarify that you said CMC Markets is doing case by case this year.
That's my understanding. So I don't have any personal experience. That's what I've seen. So what I've done with that list is I've just, every time I've heard someone say something about voting and a brokerage house in Australia, I just jotted it down. And yeah, so Westpac and CMC Markets were the two that people said yes, but on a case-by-case basis. So apparently they won't ring up and requesting it. Doesn't have had success last year by ringing up and requesting it, and others didn't. So
Yeah, last year I have some shares with them, and last year I rang them up and they said no, we don't allow it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they do this year.
Cool. Sorry, Trev, you got your hand up.
Yeah. Sorry, it's not on topic tonight. It's a little bit off a different one.
That's all right.
I've been absolutely flat out this week, so I haven't had a chance to go doing any of my own research. I got a sports state championships on, but I did notice yesterday that there's a crack in our front windscreen. It goes around the VIN number, cuts across the corner. It doesn't look like it's actually had a hit, but just thought I'd quickly ask, because I'm probably going to do some research early next week about whether is there an alternative or just take it straight back to Tesla and get them to do it. Is there another way around it, or as in other repairers half the price or something, or is it just take it back to Tesla and avoid all the issues?
Yeah, probably that. I don't even know if Windscreens O'Brien or the others have Tesla windscreens. They probably would these days.
I'm kind of hoping that this one's actually repairable, because it's only, the crack's probably 10 inches long going diagonally, cuts the corner.
No, it won't be repairable. I can almost guarantee you that.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah,
it's
so I
actually
mean, the
below
only
the
other
dash
option.
line. It's you can't see it from inside the cab. It goes across the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, look, absolutely worth a try, but I'd be very surprised if it was repairable. I mean, the only other option apart from Tesla is if you jump on Tesla's website, there's 5 Tesla authorised repairers in Perth. And so there's Renew,
Bowra.
Bowra.
If I'm going to drive up from Bunbury, I'll probably just take it straight back to them.
Anyway, I can't remember, but there's 5 of them, and I know Renew are pretty quick. So when I've had windscreens with renters and I had the car rented out and I needed the windscreen done quickly, Tesla was going to take a couple of weeks, whereas Renew was able to do it for me literally within 36 hours. So they do keep stock on hand, and they were very similarly priced. I can't remember now if they were cheaper or more expensive, but it was much of a muchness. So, but just it also depends on your particular car, because there are some windscreens, so it's the connection for the cameras, etc. So there's like a red cable and a blue cable or a black cable, I can't remember now, but there's 2 different types. So just because, you know, you have a model number does not necessarily mean the repairer knows which windscreen you need. So I think the easiest way to do it is if you actually bring it in, they literally just reach underneath, pull out the cable, and they can tell within sort of 30 or 40 seconds which one it is that you need. But I know one is more expensive than another. So you can have a Model Y with 2 different windscreens. You can have a Model 3 with 2 different windscreens.
Very good. Apologies to you, Carmen and Richard Cooper. We had a gate crasher in sort of twice, so I had to put the waiting room up, and I just looked at random. I don't know how long you've been waiting. I hope it hasn't been too long, but apologies for that. It's just the only way we can deal with gate crashes. You're muted, Carmen, so still muted. Yeah, now you're right. Yep, no, gotcha.
Well, I tried a few times, but I thought it was a new Zoom because AI came up and there was all these UMDA, and I thought this is just technical.
No, sorry, no, it was literally just a very rude gate crasher.
Oh, okay.
There was a bit of publicity about this.
Self-drive.
No, about the fact this Zoom session would be on, and
Oh,
you've just
okay.
got, that. Oh, you've got 8 billion humans, and a sizable portion of them are idiots. So there's always one in
Yeah.
every crowd, and yeah. Anyway, so I had to
It's
put
no
up
problem.
I had to put up the waiting room. So some subject that's fairly close to your heart, Carmen, is Tesla's share price, which actually over the
Yes,
last few months has actually done quite well at the moment.
it
So
has indeed.
yeah, we're firmly into a $400 trading range, so it seems.
Yes,
Um, so it's looking
good
quite
news.
positive. Yeah, it's looking good news, and a lot of the analysts are doing what analysts do, which is follow the share price up with their price targets, which is a little bit slack. But I think the highest price target now is $528, I think.
Wow,
So that's not too bad. But
that's awesome.
yeah, well, yeah, that's right. There's going to be some
Well,
more Tesla Nairs built out of the share
Yeah,
price, so it's all good.
that's good. That's good.
that's if you ignore Kathy Wood's price target. She's got a 5-year. I mean, all the analysts have got a 12-month target, but she's got a 5-year target of
That's right.
$2,600.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
that's right. And as Stephen Mark Ryan often complains about the analysts, nothing actually happens. The share price goes up, so the analysts change their price target.
Yeah,
And he goes, his price target hasn't changed, or
yeah.
sorry, he doesn't have a price target, he has a fair valuation. And the only way you can ever do that actually is to do a discounted cash flow model. And as long as you put enough in your model,
Outcomes.
the
Yeah,
outcome is sort of obvious.
yeah.
It doesn't guarantee the short-term share price or
No,
even the long-term price actually, but it determines the long-term value, and that's what everyone should do. And get your own model, and
actually, I've checked Tesla, but I haven't checked Kathy Woods, Pete. So what's she doing?
don't know, to be honest, because yeah. Oh,
Well, ARK Invest, they publish their price target not every year, but sometimes they skip a year. But they always have a 5-year view. They're more sort of longer term. And Elon Musk, numerous times when he's been asked about where he sees the share price going, has always referred to ARK Invest and Kathy Wood. And he says, look, they have been right in the past, and they seem to, in my opinion, they seem to be the most accurate, the closest to where the share price could be in 5 years. He always qualifies it by saying it will, require exceptional execution.
Yep.
But
all the stars aligning.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, good. Well, there's hope because he hasn't done much really.
No, but that's classic Tesla behavior. So
No, I meant Kathy Wood. Tesla's done pretty
oh,
well.
sorry, yes, yeah.
Tesla's done well.
The problem with ARK Invest is, like all of these fund managers, is they basically have to realize profits. They have to take profits. They have to trade shares and trade equities to actually get a return, because their return is actually distilled out of cash that they've extracted from trading shares effectively. So, and they've got these rules. Like, I think that the highest proportion they can have of any company is 10% in most of their holdings. So when Tesla goes up, they're forced to sell down. Whereas obviously, if you believe, which many of us do, that Tesla has a lot more value to be grown into the company, you'd be notionally mad to sell any of it. You're better off to hold it.
Hold it.
So, but Kathy Wood, ARK just can't. So, for example, if they have, let's call it 10% of their portfolio is Tesla, and Tesla 10 bags, well, they're going to have to sell, and everything else stays the same. They're going to have to sell 90% of their Tesla shares and take profits along the way, but they'll still end up with only a 10% share of their portfolio of shares that are 10 times the price at a tenth of the number, and that'll restrict their gains because their gains are, I don't know how that maths works. So unlike retail investors where many can afford to just buy and hold, and we can extract. I mean, I've not really I've not really sold many Tesla shares at all. And, you know, the ones I bought back in 2017, they've 15 bagged or something stupid. You know, it's just, and look, if we believe, and there's every reason to believe it can happen with execution, if Tesla goes up another 10 bag, well, imagine having shares that are 100 times what they used to be worth. That's,
pretty good.
but, and that's not financial advice, but
no, I get that.
But yeah,
we all did. You keep a record of those estimates we predicted?
Actually, it was going to be end of this year. I thought there was, and I did actually manage. I think the Tokwa's X account. I think I did dig out. There were 3 numbers. I think Russell did one, Pete did one, and someone else did another one. And it seems the lowest figure is the one that is closer to winning, because I think maybe the lowest number was about $600.
Yes.
And I think there was 1,000, and there was maybe there was a 1,500 or something. And it looks like the 600 is going to be the closest.
Yes.
Don't know whether Tesla will get to 600 by the end of the year. Some people think it will, but a lot of bulls are inherently bullish. I mean, they want to believe. I mean, it'll all happen in time, but obviously it's easy as humans to go, oh, wouldn't it be lovely? It's more like hope rather than
they're hoping it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, but at least that's better than, you know, share traders which use what do you call it? Astrology, share astrology, which is things like you know, momentum and all this sort of stuff, because everything changes. If Elon Musk announces tomorrow that we've solved that FSD is now better than a human and costs $100 to implement, well, everything changes. Or if he brings out Optimus and they say we can make an Optimus for $5,000 and it can take the place of $100,000 a year people, well, then everything changes. You know, so
Speaking of Elon, have you tried Grok as a AI? Is it better than ChatGPT and the others?
I haven't really used ChatGPT much, to be perfectly honest. Look, they've got you can easily ask it questions where you know it's wrong. And you can ask, you can do certain things that you know it's wrong, but I've found the stuff where it does research, where it has to look up a lot of websites, it does that very well. It can still come up with the wrong answer. I've sort of given it some questions I know the answer to, and it will sort of get a little bit wrong. Which is mainly more like fact. I mean, the way I test it is I just put in how many times has a lap been done around Australia, or just stuff where I know how to check it, but it might not pick the right website or do whatever. But I mean, look, all that stuff, it's changing the world. I mean, the world's already changing very quickly.
Oh, no, I know. I have used it to fine-tune some documents. I've used it for recipes. They're pretty good on suggestions. You can give them a bunch of ingredients and it'll come up with alternatives. So it's pretty good. I have asked them a couple of legal questions and they didn't get the concept. So, but then again, how much information did I give them? You know, it was hard to check that one. But it's quite amazing, really.
It is. It's just another revolution. It's the world's going to be very different in 10 years' time than what it is today. And let's face it, it's very different today than it was 10 years ago. I mean, there are some of us driving around in cars that are basically driving themselves, and I mean that's something that was the Jetsons back in the 50s.
I heard that today it was made legal in WA, in Australia.
No. So actually, it's funny. There was there was what I thought was a bit of a misleading news article
Oh.
this morning at 6:30 on the
Mm.
ABC radio news,
Yeah.
and it was sort of implying that Tesla's technology has gotten ahead of regulations, and that was a concern, and that's actually not the case. So what we're doing, driving around with Tesla's full self-driving supervised, is that is legally considered a level 2 advanced driver assist system,
Yeah.
and which the driver is always responsible. But the National Transportation Commission is developing a national framework which will have federal government legislation, and then it must by necessity have complementary state legislation that effectively harmonizes the federal one, because road rules are made on a state basis. It's under our federation, apparently that's a state thing. So they'll have to have rules, and the rules will be comprehensive. It'll be along the lines of, if the car is autonomous, then no one inside the car is responsible for what it does. And in fact, it'll probably have to define the fact that insurance or whatever, the risk goes with the manufacturer, not with the owner. Or they'll work all this stuff out.
Yeah.
And all the rules, because there will be autonomous cars with no one in them, either all the time or some of the time. And it will be a slow process, but it's being contemplated, and it's not like the Europeans, where a lot of the Europeans is the presumption of no, and there's a lot of political shenanigans. It seems in Australia, at least refreshingly, at least on the surface, that there's a knowledge that this is coming, and they need to get ready for it. Now, what we don't know is when Tesla would possibly be ready for our cars to actually be autonomous. I mean,
Yes.
it really.
I thought it was a little bit premature, and I thought I haven't heard anything about it.
No. So
This was on 6PR, and
Oh,
they
well,
said
yep.
it was a talkback,
Yep.
and somebody said, well, self-drive was approved today, and I thought, oh, that's a
No.
bit sudden.
No, definitely not. No.
Mm.
The framework's still being done.
Mm.
But Tesla's FSD supervised, well, it's actually not approved per se. It's approved by definition, because it's considered legally to be no more
Legal,
advanced than cruise control or
Okay.
basic lane keeping. So it's
Okay.
fully compliant.
Yeah.
And by the way, I did find out from Tesla, just clarification, that you do not need to put your hands on the steering wheel at all times, but you have to always be alert to take over at a
Yes.
moment's notice. So you can't
Yeah.
have a bowl of Wheat Bix or cornflakes or whatever on your lap,
Yeah.
eating it
Yep.
or whatever.
Well, you're not allowed to have, under the road rules, you're not allowed to hold anything in your hand, because I got stopped and they said you're not allowed to hold a piece of paper, a pen, or anything else. You are not allowed to hold anything in your hands.
Well, I'm not that intimate with the road rules.
There's
but
actually apparently nothing in the WA legislation that specifically says whether you have to have one hand, two hands on the steering wheel, or whether the hands have to just be close to the steering wheel. But what this will come down to is, it will come down to, they will, 99.9% of the time it's probably going to be fine until there is an accident, and then it will come down to the police officer and then ultimately the judge. There is, in the Road Traffic Act of 1970, there is section 63, I think it is, which says that you have to exercise due care and attention. And so then it comes down to whether the judge thinks that having hands an inch away from the steering wheel, whether that is due care and attention, whether that's due care, or whether they'll just say, hang on, you didn't have your hands on the steering wheel, you did not exercise due care. So it'll really come down to how the courts see it.
yeah, but the thing is, Carmen was
So
mentioning
I think
the police officer saying you were not allowed to have anything in your hand other than a steering wheel.
Well, he may not have said anything because I said he thought I had touched my phone, and I said, no, it's a book. I was checking an address, and he said, well, you're not allowed to do that. You have to pull over.
Yeah. Which may or may not actually be a law. It might just be his opinion because he thought you were fibbing about a phone.
Yeah.
So it might have been him just reacting to your what he
be.
thought was an excuse.
Yeah, because I was at driving in the car and stopped at lights.
Yeah,
and I had my notebook out, and I was, writing in because I had a note. I'm not going to get my phone out to do the note. I had a notebook, so I wrote that, and the police officer was right next to us, and he saw, and I just showed him that, and he was like, "Yep, no worries," and he just kept going.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like Harold said, because the rules is you have to be in control of the steering wheel.
Yes.
Behind the steering wheel. That's all it is.
Well, it was at the lights, and it was red, and I was stopped.
Yeah. But if you had your phone or you touch your phone, then that's $1,000.
No, I didn't. I didn't touch the phone.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Yeah. I just wanted to get the quota. So anyway,
Colin, you got your hand up.
Sorry. You just reminded me, Harold. Did you go back and check who was the best prediction of when FSD Supervise got released?
Oh, no, because I got all pessimistic and I blew mine out. I was gonna do it like in September because that lined up with people's birthdays, I know, and then I pushed it out to October. I think there was someone that was late August or early September because it ended up being what I guess for most people mid-September, wasn't it? So yeah, I don't know, Colin. I can't remember which episode that was. It was a few ago. It'd be good to be able to search for all of YouTube's entire Tokwa channel.
I'll find it for you. I found the one for the share price.
Oh, so
I put the link in the chat if you want to click on
it. Test. Here we go. Oh, so you found the tweet. Awesome. Okay. So can I do a here we go. Screen share. Does that work?
Yeah, so Tesla's 433.84.
Yeah.
There was an increase.
So we've got Russell had $1,000, Nigel Farrier 833, Pete had 1,666. This is split adjusted, right? So it looks like Nigel's the closest at 833, but it's not going to be 833, and this was following 2025 split adjusted. Yeah, right.
Well, this is for the December 31st, 2025, right?
Yes.
So this was forecast back in 2021 when the share price was actually about the same price as it is today.
Split adjusted, yes.
Price was about $400 or whatever. So in that time between 2021 and now, the share price has effectively done nothing.
Yeah. So because I do recall I split adjusted these when I got that episode because there's a link to the episode there. In fact, it's actually we can play this.
There's a marker in there from memory. There you go.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get back to predictions. All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go, Russell.
I reckon 2025, 3,000. 2030, 7,000. 7 to 10.
Oh, you got to pick a number. That's a broad.
7,892.
Mine is 2025, 2.5, 2030, 5,000. And today's prices.
Pete.
Sorry.
Sorry. Pete Petrosky.
Right. 5 and 20. So by 2025, it's going to be a $1 trillion company. By 2030, it will be a $20 trillion company, and larger than most other companies. Probably the next.
All right. So I think
Pete
Pete's a
was
bit
right.
happy. Pete's still happy with his 2030 prediction, but the 5 trill, it's not going to happen, Pete. I'm very sorry.
Sadly, but sad but true.
So it looks like Nigel, who was the most conservative at a split adjusted 833.
We've still got 3 months to go.
We do.
Yeah, you never know.
I remember watching the stock price within 3 months it like tripled. So
Yeah, why not? Yeah. It only has to touch it. It doesn't have to stay there.
just book that concert at the RSC Arena, mate. If you just to get ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, when it's at 2 times $420.69.
Yeah.
Which is whatever that is.
We had the run in 1920 where it just freaking ran.
$841.38.
Easy.
Yep.
Very good. All right, we're getting towards the end of the program. We're actually past time. Yeah,
it's not nice time.
We'll be pumpkins shortly. So if there's any last questions or comments before we take out this awesome show.
Oh, thank you, Harold.
No, I think we're all pretty good. Awesome. All right. So let me just get set up.
I've got one quick one, Harold.
Yes.
I'm picking up my new Model Y tomorrow.
Oh, congrats.
And I'm very disappointed about the module thing you started at the beginning of the show that I'm not going to get FSD. And I'm not happy. And I'm not waiting 1,309 days for this one.
No. So, look, I only heard it today from Jason Stanley, actually, who picked up his car. My wife, you see, because I can't be bothered getting a good present or a romantic present, I decided to just buy my wife a car for her birthday because I'm just unromantic. But yeah, I've had to tell her too that it'll be a delay. Look, we don't know. It might be fairly quick. It sounds to me like they have to put a patch. They effectively have to have some adjustable settings to accommodate this different kind of module or whatever it is in the software to get uploaded to the car. So that might take hours, days. Let's hope not weeks. But it is what it is.
One of my Powerwalls has died, and that needs replacing. So that's going to be ages.
No.
So, no. And as long as the share price keeps going up, I'm happy. But
yeah, that's right. Don't worry about it. If the share price goes up high enough, you can just go and just buy a new one anyway. So yeah, buy something else. But yeah, they're going to be very busy the next few days delivering those 200 new Model Ys. That's for sure. And I think delivery started today, so they'll all be delivered presumably by Saturday. Because I think we got a long weekend, and Tuesday would be the very last. That's the 30th of September, and I don't know they want to hold that to chance to just in case there's stragglers or something. So
exactly. Yeah, I had a buddy at work. I finally convinced him. So put the order in Model Y, and he's like, "Oh, I've got to pick it up next week." I wasn't ready. So he's just gonna have to. He's ponying up the money and just doing it.
Exactly.
I said, that's Tesla, man.
That's very good. Awesome. All right. Any other lasties before we go? No, I think we're all good. Alrighty. So, Pete, how would you take out an awesome show like this as if I didn't already know?
As always, stay safe. Congratulations on a successful 11th lap, Harold. Stay sustainable and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, do some more laps, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance.
I'd say no wonder you're buying your wife a new car after all the time you've been away.
That's right. Absence
I'm
has
not sure it's called a birthday present.
No, it's not very romantic. But anyway, on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I know.